that like that's something like human. Like it's not just good at a specific stuff, but it's good at a lot of stuff, you know. So that is my definition for AGI, and that is what generally is, accepted. And uh, so like the research that I have been into is primarily about AGI robotics, not cognitive AGI, right? So like there's a difference. AGI robotics versus cognitive AGI. So like cognitive AGI is like, like actually human like something that like can invent new or prove like new laws of physics and discover new science or math and all that. That's cognitive AGI. And then there's other thing, AI robotics, which is robots basically doing everything a human can, right? So like my research is been primarily about the AGI robotics. Like how can we achieve the machines that are generally intelligent and that can be, like used to solve humanity's biggest problems. Uh, you getting my point, right?
Yeah, I mean, because there's a couple of points that I want to address with you. One thing you said, your definition of AGI or the way you understand AGI, that's one thing, but it's also the definition of AGI, right? It's not just it's not conjecture. It's not a loose term because words do actually mean something. That's why we have language. Words do mean things, right? That's why we have a table is a table. It's not we're not gonna call it by any other name. A spoon is a spoon. We're not gonna call it by any other name. I mean, these are the conventions we put together. AGI, whether it's in robotics, whether it's cognitive, it still bears the same meaning whether you acknowledge it or not, right? And the reason being is um, the to achieve AGI, whether it's a robot, okay, whether it's a mechanical or whether it's binary ones and zeros, it still utilizes the same sort of logic to be able to basically carry out tasks that are necessary to continue a said task or to achieve a certain goal. Right now, what we have is we don't have AGI, right? We have smart, we have RAG, of course. We have all sorts of different derivatives. But when it comes to achieving AGI, it's almost going to be at the level of nanites or nanobots, right? Where if, for instance, you have a piece of code and you have an LLM that's achieve AGI, it's going to be able to go and fix itself without me telling it, you go and fix that. There's something wrong here. There's a bug. Go and fix that. That's all it means. And it's the same thing. If you and I were sitting here right at the studio, and for instance, you drop your phone, right? And my instinct and your instinct is to try to go and pick it up. You might go and pick it up, and I might try to pick it up for you because you have something else in your hand. I don't have to wait for you to tell me, hey, I dropped my phone. Can you pick it up for me? And same thing, if you drop your phone, you're going to go and pick it up. So it's kind of like the same principle, right? So AGI will allow the code to react, to act and react without having to be prompted. That's all it means. It's not really that complicated. You know what I mean?
I got your point. Uh, oh,
You're breaking up.
I was taking
Okay.
breaks. So, uh, yeah, like there are actually a lot of different definitions of AGI.
Mm,
Uh, like when I say AGI, right? What I'm talking about is basically the robot that can basically do anything, basically,
yeah.
right?
Basically, automatically. It's autonomous, right? It doesn't have to be
I don't
prompted.
know. To be honest, I don't know about the autonomous, right? Here's the deal. Autonomous, too much autonomous can be dangerous. You know what I mean?
Well,
Uh,
of course,
like,
that's why everybody from Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and Sam Altman. That's why in the beginning they were all saying we should be careful because bad things might happen, and I could see that. I could see that happening.
so it's yeah, and of course that's not because the AGI wants to do something bad necessarily. Uh, it could be because uh, AI and robotics they are like optimized for achieving maximum reward. If you know what it is, reinforcement learning.
Mm,
Uh, so like bots currently they do basically anything for reward just like humans do, but humans have basic intelligence, they don't. So like they tend to break things in order to make some reward. For example, right, if you tell a robot that is purely trained on reinforcement learning, uh and you tell it to okay, clean my dishes,
mm-hmm.
and he's like okay, he picks up a dish, right, he's like okay, like there's this certain command that I have gotten, and I have to anyhow with maximum reward do that. So he it might not know what like breaking is a bad thing, right? So like because they don't have common sense like we do, they don't have the intuition that okay,
Yep.
like if I break this thing, that would be even bad. So potentially it could break that plate or dish, whatever, and like claim that it has get got the task done and
Mm-hmm.
achieved its reward. So like this is where real threat is, but the like the path that I was researching about this
Mm-hmm.
completely ignores that, right? Uh, Also, I was thinking of filing a patent on this idea.
Well, first of all, you can't file a patent on an idea. You have to.
You cannot.
You can't patent an idea. You have to basically have something tangible, whether a research and something that could be replicated, reviewed by peers. Otherwise your patent's going to be rejected. Plus, it's fairly expensive to
Yeah,
file a
yeah.
patent.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Hmm.
You're absolutely right. Like I'm not saying that I would, like do it on an idea. Like I would first of all obviously write research paper on it. Not necessarily. Uh, but like according to my research, this is a pretty plausible path towards good robotics. I don't like say that it will lead to AGI or something like that. Like
Hmm.
these terms are very, very ambiguous. But like according to my research, like it can, if executed properly, it can lead to, you can say, intelligent machines, intelligent robots.
Hmm.
Uh, like robots that can do basically anything that a human can with, like appropriate accuracy. Like it could have intuition, it could have common sense. These two things are the main that present day robotics and AI lack. If we if we get robots to have these two things, we will be very, very good. And like the primary things that I see these technologies for is for the service of humanity. Uh, like these things can many times, 100 times the technological, like advancements for humanity.
Hmm.
And so, uh, like I was wondering, okay, like from an economic perspective, like like if we get intelligent machine, now, okay, let me tell you something. I was going through the White House documents that they released about tech, and like they had, uh, like I had a thought that okay, like if we somehow build these technologies,
Hmm.
right, uh, and they use it for example, there's a robot, right? It can do anything. So if we, for example, drop it in a farm, for example, and let it, like plant, harvest on its own, fully autonomous, right? Uh, we deploy 50 of them, in 50 different farms.
Mm-hmm.
For example, this is just hypothetical. Like there will be near zero cost of farming, and so economically, the food will become very very cheap, near zero. And same goes for other areas as well. For example, energy grids, right? Electricity. Like electricity, they require a lot of, infrastructure, grids, and now the world is shifting towards solar power. So, for example, if we make solar power, like a lot of solar panels and deploy them somewhere empty land, we can deploy robots in there to take care of them because that's the main issue with present day solar. It's pretty hard, like the maintenance is very hard. So if we were to, for example, build such kind of machines that take care of them autonomously, right? It would be very, very good thing. Uh, like the reason why things cost, if you think from an economic perspective, that the reason why things cost something is because it costs to generate them. For example, for farming, you need labor, right? That's the main thing, the main cost, labor. You need to pay them. They need money too, right? The laborers working in farm. So for example, if that labor is replaced, for example, like it would require very, very less, like money to generate those. It
Yeah.
could get near
Well,
zero.
yeah.
You know?
Well. Listen. Listen. That there's what's happening right now. It's no different than what the Industrial Revolution did, because when companies started industrializing, the same conversation was had because people thought, well, we're going to lose our jobs because now the machines are going to replace us. But machines didn't replace people. What machines did, they created efficiency. They created a way to do things more efficiently with less human error and more output. Therefore, you go to a supermarket these days, the shelves are fully stocked. The shelves are brimming with new product every day. And what sparked that advancement and what actually made that advancement flourish is mechanization and automation. And a lot of it is, has to do with robots, not necessarily to the level of AI or AGI. Now things getting into that realm, especially when you go to China. Most factories in China right now are heavily AI driven. For instance, one of the busiest ports, I mean, you could Google this and see for yourself. One of the busiest ports in China, uh, there are practically no humans on the dock outside in the sun or in the rain or in the snow to load the containers to do things. These guys are sitting in a control room. All they do is monitor screens, and everything is AI driven to which container goes to what dock, which dock, which container gets loaded onto which ship. Everything is done automatically. So, and you go to a car, for instance, a car plant like BYD, one of these companies, 90% of the work is automated and it's AI driven. So there are still jobs. So people still have to pivot because first of all, you can't just sit home and then do nothing unless you want to waste away because idle hands is it's not really productive. You're going to find yourself in a situation where if the population is out of work, not producing, and robots or AGI driven robots take over, it's going to be a disaster. It's not going to work. This is why people have to pivot. People have to pivot to learn about to acquire different skills to work, and whether in research, whether it's new advancements, whether it's new medicine, new science, new physics that's yet to be discovered. This is where we're headed, And I think if we keep a level head and we think clearly, it's not going to be an issue because we're not going to let the machine loose and then take over because that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Like you use this word machine takeover. Like this idea in itself sound quite impractical to me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like so there's this guy. He's a pretty like respectable AI researcher. His name is Roman Yom, something like that. Let me read. Roman, yeah, Roman Yampolsky.
Yeah,
So this guy
I know the name. Yeah.
so like he's mainly concerned with AI safety research, right? I appreciate it, right? AI safety is pretty important, no doubt, right? But like when they go to podcasts or show, then they use these words, like he said that, Roman, he said that AI has a 99.9% chances of driving to human extinction. These type of ideas, like sound very, very impractical to me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because because like what do you mean? So like the common argument the Roman like the researcher he gives is that you cannot control a thing which is smarter than you.
Wait,
And
say that
so
again. You can't control something that's what?
you can't control something smarter than you. That's what he
Mm-hmm.
says. But like like when I heard some statement like this, my common question is that what do you mean by smarter than us? Please clarify that
Mm-hmm.
first, right? If you mean that smart in this, like, what do you mean by smart, right? Do you think that calculators are smarter than humans? Are they? Like, if your answer is no, because like it's not alive like humans are, it's not like it cannot do physical tasks. Um, like AI is not very different from that either, as of now, or as of like short future. AI is not very different from that. So when you say okay, like humanity is going to be extinct because of AI, and even there this uh, YouTube channel, Species documenting AGI.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he posts a lot of these type of videos, like uh, like misguidance, misinformation about AI research and or safety. Uh, I'm pretty, like against them. Like, don't, bro. Like, if you're not creating new technologies, right? So at least don't give an opinion that has no practicality. Yes, sure, there are safety risks. Okay, engineers need to take care of that very carefully. But that doesn't mean that we're going to be extinct tomorrow or, like humanity is going to be removed from this planet or from this universe forever, and AI is going to take over on this planet and or make it itself, make us its slaves. You know what I'm talking about? So
Yeah, well,
these type
that's
of
yeah, that's a little bit futuristic. That that's science fiction. It's not going to happen, overnight where, all of a sudden we become slaves to the machines, slaves to robots. I think what a lot of people, I wouldn't say most people, what a lot of people don't really understand is the fact that we'll reach a point where um, everything is so interconnected that it might create certain problems. The interconnectedness. That's what a lot of people are afraid of. For instance, let me give you an example. For instance, key infrastructure, right? If we connect, if we interconnect key infrastructures, this is where we become vulnerable. If, for instance, let's call it an LLM, right? A large language model. Okay, but at the base of it all, that's all it is. It's basically a data set that the LLM is trained on, and it's basically knowledgeable, sort of, in all these domains. Therefore, when you query the LLM, right, on a particular subject, it's not actually thinking. It's not actually looking for the. It's looking for probabilities. It's a probability game. It's looking, okay, what, according to this question, or it doesn't even understand what a question is. It knows, all right, there's a query that comes to me, in forms of, it's a binary, query. According to this query, I know it equates to this. This is the closely related uh, data set that I can associate with what this query is about, right? So far you're following, right? So
Mm-hmm, yeah, absolutely.
so when you get into these situations, then you realize, okay, the large language model is not really smart. It's just it has the capacity to have access to all the data that it's been trained on, right? All the data set that's available to it, it's able to access that and then retrieve information, which is something that, as carbon, entities, we don't have that capability to access information to the level, even though we're way smarter than large language models when it comes to, you know, emotional quotient, when it comes to, IQ, EQ, all these sort of things, the human interactions. We are more advanced than those machines because they're incapable of reasoning that way. Therefore, for them to look at objectively at a problem and say, this is how I'm going to fix the problem, this is where we might get into a huge problem with interconnectedness. For instance, I started talking about infrastructure. Let's say we connect our electricity grid, right, the power grid, water sanitation, first responder, you know what I mean, air traffic controller. Let's say they take over that, and we let them loose, right? Let's see, nobody in the cockpit. Every single car in the world is basically a smart car or AGI driven. So that means that we are relinquishing control to the machine, where the machine does not know what's right or wrong. It just looks at probability. Therefore, it would be foolish for us to actually relinquish power, such control to the machine. We are not. I don't know if we're going to be ready in 50 years and 100 years and 200 years. We might get there one day, but we simply not ready to relinquish power to a large language model to take care of key infrastructure, things that are actually related to life or death, which is why I think it's very dangerous. It's not because they're going to take over, but they might, or they will inadvertently create a problem that is critical, that they won't really see what the problem is. They won't see the human capital when it happens. Let me give you an example, right? Something as simple as, for instance, coding, right? When you use, for instance, Claude Code, or even Gemini 3, and 3.0, these are very smart LLMs when it comes to coding. Even JLM 4.7, which is a new thing, China just the new LLM China just dropped, which is great at coding as well, or assisted coding. Um, Systematically, I test them, right? I test these large language models, and I may be working on a project, and I know the code base, right? And then the I ask the large language model. I say, hey, here's my code base. I want you to scan the code base. Here's my progress file. Okay, here's my PRD, here's my progress file, here's my MVP file. And I want you to cross reference what's been done and what's pending and mark them accordingly. Here's the legend, okay? If it's completed, mark it completed with the green tick mark. If it's in progress, put a little circle. If it hasn't started, put an X, a red X, and I give the legend. Systematically, a lot of these LLMs, they go and they mark the whole progress file completed. All right. Then I basically respond and say, why did you mark the progress file completed? He said, well, because all the tasks on the progress file have been completed. I'm saying, no. I said, look again. Then it comes back and says, oh, I apologize. I didn't really scan the
Hmm.
I didn't really
Yeah.
scan the
So
code base. You see?
yeah, this is called it's a specific term you're talking about. It's called hallucination. Uh,
No, no, that's not really a
like
hallucination. No, this is not. That's not hallucination. That's actually this is actually I wouldn't really call it a lie, but it's a obfuscation. It's different. Obfuscation and hallucination are two different things. Hallucination happens when you basically, for instance, I ask it a question and then it's so sure that it says, you know what? Okay, let me do a search, and then it can't whatever it cannot find, it will make things up. For instance, if I'm doing research on Manus or Perplexity, and it'll spit out a response that I know is wrong, and it'll even give you links, like reference links, right? And so here are the references, and when you click on the links to navigate to these sources, they lead to nowhere. They are 404, or they just make things up. That's an hallucination, right? But in the code base where you give it specific, and it's not something that it has to go on the internet and search for. This is something that he has access to. He has full access, of course, not access to execute anything that it could basically delete your database or delete anything on your code base. You keep it on a leash, so to speak. So you ask it, you give it a task, and you give it all the tools. So with all the tools, there's no room to hallucinate. There is sometimes it'll just sit back and say, well, I did it. I say, no, you did not. You did not. So it's a version of a toddler or a 5 or 6 year old who lies constantly. That's how it's that's how it thinks.
so let me tell you about the same story. Like when I got this uh, offer letter for my internship from this company, like it was a huge document, and I let Gemini. Gemini hallucinates a lot as compared to OpenAI ChatGPT.
Mm,
Just my observation. I like let Gemini summarize it for me. Like it made all claims, and not just that, it also like it was persistent with those claims. uh so like it was claiming that like you are going to receive a salary every month, which was not true. I was going to receive some money after the end of the contract and not end of every month, but it claimed that it was end of every month. And not just that, I kept asking him, okay, like where is that line? I cannot see in the document. It's oh, go to this page, go to this line. Here you will find it. I'm saying that, okay, I'm going there. I'm repeatedly sending a screenshot
mm,
and asking, are you sure? Because I cannot see it. Can you see it? Where it is? And it will be like, yeah, this line at page 5, this line, line 49. You can check it. It mentions that you are going to receive salary every, at 5th of every month. And I was like, okay, I'm at that exact page, but I cannot find it. Like after like 10 to 12 prompts like this, it finally accepted, oh yeah, there is no such thing as that in the document.
Yeah.
You know?
No, definitely. I mean, here's the thing, right? These LLMs are supposed to be your co-pilot, and it's the same thing. You would never hire a junior developer and put him in charge of, for instance, I don't know, Facebook, okay, or
Mm,
um, OpenAI. Okay, you would never do that. And it's the same thing. You have to treat the LLM as your junior developer,
mm,
or an assistant. You have to constantly, and then also remember garbage in. I mean, it's almost a cliche now when people say garbage in, garbage out. You sort of have to, not sort of. Let me be clear. You have to know how to communicate with the LLM. It's the same way, the way that I'm speaking with you right now. I would not speak the same way to a 3-year old who just learned how to put a couple of sentences together. You see what I'm saying? And it's the same. It's the same principle. You would not speak to a 5-year old the same way you speak to a, to a grown adult. And when it comes to doing things, when it comes to doing things that are mission critical, there's no way you're going to allow your junior, which is any LLM you choose to use, whether it's whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's GPT 5.2, whether it's Gemini 3.3.0, whatever the LLM is, you will not relinquish control to it. And I remember last year, towards the end of the year, there's this one guy who, you probably saw it as well. There was this one guy who was basically crying on the internet, saying, I think he was using either bold or lovable. The LLM erased his database. And now he lost his project. I'm like, well, first of all, how did that happen? First, if it happened, don't blame the LLM because you lost your database that you've been working on for, I don't know, I think it was 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it was, whatever the amount of time. Where's your backup? Where's your Git repository? Where's your local backup? Where are your safeguards? And don't you know that the LLM, unless you're really oblivious, your coding assistant is not going to go and delete things without prompting you and say, hey, I'm doing this, this might happen. And then this happens a lot, which is why I don't let any LLMs, near my back end, my database. And if I need to do something, for instance, in Superbase, I supervise. I do it locally, first of all. You know what I mean? I do it locally, and then I push the Git, and I branch it, and then I will. There was no way. There's zero chance that even if it, by any fluke, that my database gets deleted locally, I have backups on top of backups. Where's your backup? And that's a rookie mistake that this
mm.
guy lost his project. And if I were him, I'd be embarrassed. I wouldn't even go on the internet and talk about it. That means you don't know what you're doing. You let the AI take over and delete delete your database, and then you didn't have a backup.
Who the hell does that, bro?
Yeah, exactly. So of course he got clowned. He got clowned on the internet, and I don't think that's going to happen to him ever again, because that type of stuff should only happen to you once, because you're working on a project, and then you're working on a live database, and that's your only copy. Come on, that's stupid.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, like smart glasses, like my project
Mm.
startup. I'm going to make it more coding focused. Like, there's this live AI that is sitting on your glasses that is doing a lot of things for you. You are coding an app,
Mm-hmm.
or for example, my profession, machine learning. You're training a model, and it is helping you in real time, and you can see text in your right in your lenses with clear vision, without any sort of problem. Lightweight glasses, uh, you know, like full developer focused mode, and you are writing code, and it is helping you in real time. And there's this bug, and you ask it, "Hey, AI," or like I will of course name it something specific. Hey, this AX, what is this error? Why is this occurring? And then the glasses respond, hey, this is occurring because of X, Y, and Z. Fix, go to line 43 in your code, and this, remove this by this. You can see that in your uh, glasses interface, as well as the AI speaking out of your glasses speaker. And then go to this file, go to this line, and remove it and replace it with this. Like that would be that would be I know like pretty helpful for people. So that's what I'm like my smart glass project are going to be focused on, and some additional features maybe like real time translation, all that. Above all, it is going to be lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
Like current smart glasses by Meta and all that are very quite bulky. So I will try my best to make them as like indistinguishable from uh, normal glasses. Of course, it's not going to be exactly like normal glasses because like there's the hardware, all that put into the glasses, but
Right.
uh, it is going to be smaller than those smart glasses present in the market, and a niche focused, which is developer coding market. And I uh, and it's going to be affordable, it's going to be lightweight, it's going to be something that you can wear for an entire day without any issue. So for example, if you want to code for, say, if you're coding a startup, you're a startup, and for example you want to have a 12-hour sprint that you're not going to do anything for 12 hours instead of coding, uh, and so you're sitting, you're telling the AI, hey, help me, hey, if like keep reminding of me of that I don't have to like do anything besides coding for these
Mm-hmm.
next 12 hours. And it was like, yay, okay, I will tell you. So when you get distracted, I will remind you. So and there's this issue, and you have real-time guidance, like providing your classes providing you real-time guidance, uh and yeah, so that's what my focus is currently on. What do you think?
Um, well, I think the focus is in the right direction, but also remember when we talked about this last year, and my points were exactly the same as they are now, but except now we're practically a year later, 6 months, 7 months later, and the more we advance in time, the more advanced technology is going to become, that's going to enable you to do things that you probably can't even think of right now. Because remember, I had mentioned miniaturization, right? To have things um, that are small enough that will make the glasses as lightweight as possible, as you just mentioned earlier. You could wear it all day. You won't feel fatigue. Your ears won't hurt. The bridge of your nose won't hurt, and it'll be also, which is a very important point, battery life, battery consumption, right? Because remember,
Mm,
if you're driving, of course, mind you, the size is not as big as a phone screen or a tablet or basically an LCD panel, but it'll still draw a significant amount of power to give you a heads-up display. You'll need battery for, of course, all the other components, whether it's, of course, the battery consumption will be managed. You have to write a really killer logic to to make sure there are no runoffs, there are no energy leaks, to make sure that background tasks are optimized to, you know what I mean? If for instance gyro is not being used, well, yeah, throw it in the background, all right, and then keep it in a buffer where you could recall it, and almost instantaneously, rather than a cold boot, then you do a hot boot, right? For instance, if you're doing things like hand gestures, once it's like a lot of glasses are implementing right now. So instead of having to do things, swipe the handle of the glasses to do certain things, you basically put your head in front of the lens, and pinch will act the same way as if you were using a trackpad. Pinch to zoom, or stuff like that, and to hand gestures to swipe left, swipe right, up and down, volume, click, um, right click, left click, that type of stuff to bring in different menus. So all these things will require a really, really, really killer memory management and also power management.
Uh,
So I think you're
yeah,
going in the
here's
right
the deal.
direction. So if you're going to be coding, for instance, all day, and then this thing is there, you got to think about battery consumption. As can you charge it as it's being used? That will be another thing to look into. Therefore, you don't have to shut down because halfway through the day you burned all your battery. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like battery. Like the features that you mentioned. First of all, it's not going to have heavy AR. Augmented reality is not going to have that much of AR. Of course, I was trying to add AR, but like
Mm,
according to my research, AR. You mentioned battery life, right? AR is the biggest battery consum like so. Uh, and AR is the biggest weight adder to the project too. Like for at least for V1, right? Because V1, right, version 1, I would want to focus on more niche and lightweight and like battery efficiency, as you mentioned. Focus more on these things than full on AR. You know, of course, in future we can focus on AR. But here's the deal: AR is not a software problem; it's a physics problem. You know, uh, because like if you want to render a 3D dragon on your table,
mm.
the amount of battery that will drain alone, even if batteries are pretty small, that would require a lot of energy in itself to like properly display the 3D dragon on your table without making you feel nauseous, or like making without making your head ache. uh, you know what I mean?
Oh well,
So.
I wasn't talking about that though. I wasn't talking about that level of augmented reality. I was talking more in the terms of HUD, heads up display. That means, of course, you're gonna have voice command to talk to your assistant, whether it's whether
Actually, yeah,
you know what I mean.
you mentioned that like the hand. Yeah, you mentioned hand command. Actually, for that, I'm looking for temple. Like where people could like touch on their temple of their glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Temple is the right side of the glass, I guess. Like which sits on your ears. On that, and they can scroll through things through that, or you know what I mean. Uh,
Yeah, well, even that will remember it'll require a strip that is touch sensitive, but also you'll be limited to what you can do when it comes to gestures, because you have two arms, right? The two arms of the glasses that goes behind your ears. So one side, let's say, could control a set of controls, right? You could do, but also remember, you're not limited to swiping. You can do tap, right? Sort of like you don't have a Mac, do you?
no.
Okay, so on the Mac trackpad, right? Uh, I can, for instance, one finger tap is one function. If I tap with two fingers is another function. If I swipe up with two fingers, right, it's another function. If I swipe with three fingers, it's another function. So you could actually do a lot. But also remember the glasses, the arms, right? They're not really that wide, so you can't really have three, four finger swipes, but you can actually do multiple finger or multiple taps. For instance, if you do one tap, you activate one function. If you do double tap, and then you could actually implement the pause between taps. You know what I mean? So if it's tap tap, right? Or you could do tap tap. You know what I mean? Or you could do tap tap tap.
Yeah, yeah.
So that way there's no false triggering. So when you trigger a function, you know you'll know sort of like the speed at which you have to initiate the taps to trigger that function. And also it's something that you'll tweak in the software. You can say, leave 10 milliseconds between taps. And also you could leave a function in a, for instance, in a in an app that allows the user to tweak. Depends, kind of like anything, any mouse, any trackpad. You you could you could tweak the responsiveness, right? So you could do all that. That will allow you to save a lot of space. But also the only way, the other way, what I was talking about, basically heads up display, not full AR, where you're basically generating the heavy graphics with a lot of polygons with high poly counts. This is just these are just menus. Kind of like even on Windows machines when you right click right onto, for instance, a page, and then it brings up a menu that you can scroll. You know what I mean? Copy, delete, copy, paste, cut, that type of stuff, right? Properties. It's the same principle. So you could basically this is the type of AR I'm talking about, augmented reality, but because it'll be superimposed into your vision, but it won't. It's not 3D. It's not heavy poly. It's just graphics, and it could even be low poly, 8-bit. Which it'll look like crap, but it'll save you a lot of power. But if once you have enough power to sustain the usage, then you could up the poly count. And then you can make it. Also, you can make it dynamic, right? So if once your battery goes low, then you reduce the poly count. That way you can kind of like power management, right? On the laptop. If you're below 25%, dim the screen, reduce or turn off animation period, so that way you don't have to spend a lot of power and energy to generate animations that are really, it's more like a quality of life rather than a necessity. And then once you have this sort of heads up display, then you can now start doing interesting things. For instance, if you're here's why it's important as well, right? For instance, if you're working in an open plan office, right, and you don't want to disturb the guy in the cubicle next to you as you talk to your LLM. You know what I mean? So these are use cases where you cannot talk to your LLM. You use gesture. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. You're right.
Yeah, and
Like,
and it's not just
uh,
one or the other, right? You can have both, and turn one off if you're not using gesture. Again, that's what I was talking about: power management, right? Uh, Turn it off, throw it in the background.
mhm.
Throw it at a background task as a background task. It's not going to use any energy or very minimal, and you manage that in the software. You say, you know what? If you could either do it vocally, or you could go into the menu and then turn off heads up display, or you could do it automatically. If my battery is below 50%, turn off the heads display, and I'll turn it on when I want it. And when I turn it on, I can turn off voice. That way I don't have to use both at the same time. But if you know you're home, you're close to a source of power, why not? You can leave both on. And then also, if you can, uh, do make a hook where you can actually charge it as you're using it, either with a power bank,
Mm.
you know what I mean? Where the plug is not behind the ear, you know what I mean? You have a flexi cable where you have a power bank where you could, connect to it directly, and why not? So you could use it and continuous power. So that could be a cool option as well.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. We'll definitely take that into account.
Hmm.
Uh, uh,
Yep.
like also like this thing is not is primarily going to be developers and coders and programmers and software engineers primarily going to be marketed for that purpose, but it can basically uh and I'm saying this only to you because like niche is quite like targeting a niche market is quite, I heard, useful, or I mean you have a
Hmm.
better chance of success if you're targeting like a niche market. But those glasses can basically help you with anything. For example, if you're a SpaceX engineer and you're Elon Musk and you're working on a rocket, you can ask the glasses, hey, we're having this issue in our thrust. Why is the rocket not able to generate enough thrust? And I can tell you, hey, can you take, can you, can I see the rocket from inside so I can tell you? And you are like, okay, I'll, uh, you know, uh, show you the rocket inside, and you show it and can tell you, hey, look at this at the bottom left, you can see this wire going into this, so you know what I'm talking about, right?
Hmm.
So it might have, it's most probably going to have these features too by default. Primarily it's going to be about coding and developing and programming,
Hmm.
but it can by default have these type of features too. uh, like for example, if I'm building a robot and like not just with software but it can help with hardware too. uh yeah, so like that's what I'm looking for. Not a very heavy AR and all that, like keep them lightweight, keep them like something that people can comfortably wear for a long time of hours,
Hmm.
and above all, make them useful and elegant and simple. Like when I think of glasses, how is that going to look from inside? I'm like, okay, I'm going to make it elegant from inside too, to be honest, because like I want it to be very very neat from inside. I do care about how it looks from inside too, even though the user not going to ever see that from the inside, but I do care about it, how it looks from inside. If you want me to be honest
No,
with
for
you.
sure. No, for sure. It has to be. It has to be functional, but also it has to be. It has to be practical and stylish. Nobody wants to wear something that's monstrous with cables hanging all over the place. You
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
have to be. You got to be forward thinking, and look at what's available out there. And pretty much every couple of months, there's something new coming out when it comes to these glasses. And I think I saw MQBHD um, use a couple of these glasses. I don't have any of these that tech, which I think I probably will. I don't know which one I'm going to get yet, but I really want to experiment with a little bit of those, just for maybe not for everyday use, but at least to get a feel for what's to come. And a lot of these are
Mm,
actually very, very practical because you can use the camera, for instance. Um, what would be great is to use it to for instance, diagnose certain problems. For instance, if you're not a very handy person and you have an issue with your plumbing, and you can literally put your glasses on, turn on the camera, and then have a consultation with a
Oh.
plumber, and then show him what's happening, or on your
And all
electrical
these are
fuse
targeting.
box, or even a
Okay.
mechanic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're stuck on the side of the road, you can call a mechanic and then show him what you're seeing, and then these are all
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
applications that is very practical in the real world, not just for high tech, aerospace, or coders.
Cool.
But for instance,
Yeah.
imagine if, for instance, when when you're old enough to get married and stuff, right? And then your wife is driving, I don't know, to the mall with the kids, and then something happens. The car just shuts down. How cool would it be, where she just put on the glasses and then call a mechanic? They say, okay, open the
Hmm.
hood. Tell me what do you see? And then now, instead of saying what do you see, she was okay. Well, look where the problem is, and then and the mechanic will be able to see what the problem is right away. If it's an electrical problem, if it's the radiator, if it's whatever problem it is, it'll be able to actually look and see what's going on, and then he could come with whether it's a part that he needs to fix the problem on the spot, or if he has to bring a tow truck or whatever. So that could be very practical in a real world scenario. You know what I mean? The everyday person who's not a techie, who's not an aerospace engineer, that type of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Initially, like, yeah, you're 100% right. But initially, I'm looking for, like a specific market. So I think developers and programmers can be the one. But these are byproducts. You know what I mean? Like, these are going to come as natural consequences of what we build. Like, they are not going to be probably marketed, or probably going to be. I don't know, but users can discover these themselves, right? Example, uh, you travel a lot, right? And you travel a lot.
Hmm.
You have gone to, for example, Japan, and you're in Tokyo, and there's this guy, and like, there's this beautiful girl, and he tell you something in Japanese, and you're like, what the hell is he saying? But your glasses translated for you if you ask it, and the translation not just from speaker but also in your display text.
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
how useful that is.
yeah, but I think there's something that does that already. Um, it's not it doesn't have the display yet, but it's almost like let me see if I can show you. Uh, it's almost let me show you like this. Have you seen those clip-on microphones that you see a lot of IRL streamers wear? It's basically whether it's DJI or any of these companies. Um, it's the size of just a regular, what could I compare it to? Like a coin, right? Basically,
Mhm.
basically what it comes with as a pair. So and then it had both. They have a mic and speakers. So you could basically, for instance, if you happen to be in Tokyo or in Shanghai, and it's auto detect, so it can detect the language automatically. So you give one to the person that you want to have a conversation with, and you keep one, and you speak with each other in your own language, and then it translates automatically. I can't remember what it's called, but let me try to find it.
Hmm. And now let me ask you this. Now, would you want to buy such glasses?
When do I want to buy it?
I mean, like, would you want to buy such glasses?
Yeah, I definitely want. I definitely want. Uh, I don't know which one yet. I definitely want one to experiment with, and even try to basically if it has an SDK or an API, to try to tinker with it, and that would be cool also, but not basically be bound by a set of parameters that allows you to use it the way, for instance, the manufacturer allows you to use it, just to also create your own app. For instance, wouldn't it be great if, for instance, you have one of these glasses and you go for a hike, you go for a run, and you could have your app connected to it where you could actually see the trail, right? Like the map, all the turns, the you know what I mean, the direction, the little arrow, and then the feedback. It tells you, okay, you've just run half a mile, in such amount of time, and you burn X amount of calories, and then you're kind of on the verge of being dehydrated, so you should hydrate. you know, and
So
that could
these, yeah,
that
you actually mentioned these before, I remember.
yes, and
But
that could be connected to your watch as well. You see.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, right. But I'm seeking for these type of features for V2, not V1. From V1 to V2 is not probably going to take much time, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just some more software, maybe a little bit of hardware, maybe. But the thing is that like I want to ship, right? I want to actually build something. And I'm like looking for launch date. Uh, October 2026. Like, how much is that? 9 months from now, I guess. 10 months, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
but if I were you, I wouldn't even put a date on it, because I guarantee you, uh, that date, okay, October, it seems like it's far. It's not that far. And what's gonna happen is between now and, unless you're in development already, what's gonna happen between now and October? It's gonna go by so fast. It's gonna be crazy, and you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, let me
Absolutely.
push it back. Let me show you this. Hang on.
Also,
Actually,
like these past 2 to 4 months, I've been into some existential crisis.
how so? What
So,
happened?
like I read a lot of philosophy, and I was like obsessed with this, to be honest with you, and a lot of questions with people and ChatGPT. Uh, like I like at the same time, like it's like 1 a.m. for me, and I was like, okay, like why does life exist? Like, what is the meaning of life? Like, what is the purpose of life? And these questions hit me, you know, and I read a lot of books about them. I like even, and the next book I'm gonna read is about going to be the same thing.
Mm,
A book I read from this American physicist Sean Carroll.
mm,
Uh, he said that like the purpose of life is to create the purpose of life. The meaning of life is what one creates for himself. And like the last sentence of this book, like it was pretty emotional or pretty hitting. Guess what it was? It was, you know, he mentioned in the book that an average person survives for 3 billion heartbeats. So he was like, that this was the very last sentence of the book. 3 billion heartbeats, the clock is ticking, and the book ends there. Like that was pretty amazing. Like quite emotional one, because like you have to leave this world one day, but also like gives you this drive that you have to contribute before leaving this world. Everyone have to leave this world, right? But you have to contribute in some sort in technology before that happens. And that's what I'm doing, I guess. With my glasses, my first project, I was, like I thought of, like uh, building small project of a drone type thing that flies by itself. And I was thinking that, uh, Like why cannot we make self-flying cars? Like whatever call it, car, drone, whatever. Why don't we make it autonomous? Like Tesla is self-driving car. So why don't we make self-flying cars? You know what I mean? And so
Yeah, well,
uh
that's already there. I don't know how much you keep up with that type of tech, but China just launched a fleet of flying
yeah,
cars,
so
right?
so yeah, so like these type of technologies are there, but they are not, like for production. They are, like what I mean, like some of them costing like $2 million, and
No, no,
not.
they're cheaper than that now. That was probably a couple of years ago. I'll show you in a second, but no, they're already there. All right, check this out. I don't know if you can see the screen right now.
Mm, yeah, I can. You're seeing the translation here, but
Okay, so this basically, I don't know why it's showing me Amazon in freaking Spanish. Um, this right here is that what this is what I was telling you about. Now look at the price. I think I saw
mm,
I saw a demo of it. I mean, it wasn't in person, but anything people could say anything on the internet. Um, but I think I saw it on TikTok where basically he was speaking to a Chinese person, and English speaking, and a Chinese person. And they had a conversation, and nobody switched languages except you hand one earbud over to the person, and then you keep one, and then you're talking as if you and I are talking right now. The person speaking in Chinese, and then the other person speaking in English, and you understand each other perfectly. It says I had 164 languages, but I don't know how true that is and how accurate it is in terms of translations. But hey, uh, this is the level of uh, this is the level of tech that people are putting. Now look at the price also. It's like it's $40.
mm,
See,
yeah, it looks quite soothing. Uh, you would need to like I oh this it's actually pretty like fascinating, but uh, there's this a question in my mind, like how does it exactly works, uh like there's a small earbud. How I'm not saying that it cannot. I'm just like
no, it probably has an onboard
curious how it does
local
work.
local
Like
LLM,
uh,
local
yeah,
LLM
yeah.
trained and translation stuff like that. I could see, but I'd have to test it myself to
um
see.
local to be honest with you, local LLM requires a compute to run. Like it cannot fit in these what do you call it,
Device.
what do you call it, bro, AirPods.
Oh, it depends. You don't know the architecture. We can't really say because right now
Yeah, you're right,
I
you're right.
I can run local LLMs on my phone right now. you know, of course it's because again remember this is specific, right? You only train it to do one thing, and that's the only thing it does. It's not gonna go and search the internet for you. It's not gonna answer existential questions. All it does is use language translation. It's a translation matrix. That's all it does. And then I mean I could
you
see it happening, but I have to try it myself because otherwise I'm not you know I'm not freaking buying it. Let me show you.
yeah,
Let me show you this.
yeah,
This is
yeah, like China is going like see these type of things.
mm-hmm.
uh
All right.
China is going very, very rapid in these type of things.
Oh hell yeah. So, all right. Can you see the screen right
And
now?
I've seen this video. I've seen this. Yeah, yeah, and I've seen this video, by the way.
You've seen it, right?
Yeah, this Al Jazeera reporter, she went to this a company name I cannot remember, but it was a, a flying car, but it was only, like in this demo, I guess it was only like it just goes up and comes down. Uh, in this particular video, it didn't show much, you know, or did it? It did,
No,
I
it
guess.
did. It did, but and I think also
Oh, okay. That's
they have orders from the UAE to actually order a fleet
yeah,
for taxi,
yeah, yeah,
and I think they already have a pilot program where you can actually use them already. No, they're there. Uh, these autonomous cars, it goes on autopilot. Of course, it's got redundancy. Even if you lose propellers, it's not, of course, jet propelled, but it's still propellers, sort of like a quadcopter or a hexacopter or octocopter. But it's still apparently uh, quite safe. And there are redundancy systems. There's a
mm,
parachute system as well. There's a parachute system in case of catastrophic failure. So
yeah,
it's looking pretty good.
yeah. And like, just imagine that you have this car or what call it in your home and or wherever it is, and you just sit in it, press the location you want to go to, and just like just takes you there
Hmm.
through air. Amazing, like amazing, right? Like, uh, not just about the time saving, but like imagine the future that we are going into, and uh, you know what I mean. China is pretty, you know, ahead in these type of things.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know, like why US is not. Here is the catch. Uh, I mentioned White House documents. I guess like to you. There was this one priority, which is air mobility, which means flying cars. And US government says that, we are ready to fund or support those people who can come to our country or like are in our country and build these type of things. Uh, it's very hard engineeringly, right? To be honest with you, but it's not impossible, right? What is pretty hard is affordability, right? So like the car that we saw, it uses like what, eight propellers,
Hmm.
right? A propeller costs a lot, and then uh, when you especially like combine it with uh, you know uh, other type of stuff, like weight and all that, like there will be like sometimes could be two people, five people, a family of five could be sitting and going, traveling. So and again, you mentioned that there will be some sort of infrastructure required, not a huge amount of infrastructure, some amount of infrastructure which will required for these type of things. Uh, but again, these type of things are the future that like we are looking forward, and I hope that I have some sort of contribution in the building of this future.
Hmm.
That's what I'm looking for.
Right. Well, the capabilities are there, the technology is there, and in terms of cost, right? I'm not even worried about that because here's why. Um, Technology, there's nothing new really when it comes to vertical pertaining to technology deployment. Things are always out of reach in the beginning because it costs a lot to develop, in research and development, and of course to build the prototype, and then to build the first sort of like uh, um, consumer ready production, right? And it's the same thing because I remember the first, for instance, flat panel TVs, right? Not even plasma or anything, crazy like what we have now. These were just LCD panels. Do you know how much a 50-inch cost? Let's say 25 years ago
Mm,
when they first came out.
no.
How much you think they cost?
Mm, things were pretty expensive because they were new, so they were pretty expensive back then. I
Exactly. Or
think that
give me a number. How much would you guess for a 50-inch?
50-inch, I guess, uh, like something around, I guess, something around maybe, uh, maybe $5,000, maybe thousand,
$1,000?
$5,000, maybe.
Five? Double that. It costs ten
Mm,
thousand dollars.
wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Now you
I
can,
don't know for
yeah. Okay, $10,000
how
for
much does it cost now? Yes.
now a 50-inch. You can buy that for less than $1,000. You know what I mean? 899 or
Hmm.
990 or something. So it's the same thing. Whenever a new technology comes out, it's always going to be expensive, but in prices as the production, right, starts rolling out, and then you have now the economy of scale. Now you're able to sell more for a cheaper price, and it's the same thing now with flying cars. It's always going to be expensive in the beginning, but the early adopters, uh, money is not an object for them. They're always going to buy it. They're always going to be first to market, first to flex and get it. But eventually, the prices are going to come down, and it's going to be a regular occurrence where instead of calling a Uber, and in fact, Uber as well is thinking of starting investing in air taxis and air Uber, where these flying cars will pick you up, especially for businessmen who want to go from meeting to meeting. Let's say you're in Manhattan, there's a lot of traffic. Let's say you're in Los Angeles, there's a lot of traffic, or you're in Calcutta, there's a lot of traffic. You just order an air Uber, and you're there in 5 minutes as opposed to 45 minutes. But it's going to cost more
Mm-hmm.
for now, anyway.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. By the way, like speaking of existential crisis, have you ever asked these questions to yourself?
What kind of
Just
question?
curious.
Oh, you mean
You know,
the meaning of
like
life
what does it
and
mean?
yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. So how old are you now? Are you still 15 or you're 16? I guess you just had a birthday, right?
I turned 16. Yeah, I turned 16.
Right. So now you're 16. Um, it's normal that you're having these. I wouldn't really call them crisis. I would call them.
Mhm.
It's basically you are searching for meaning, and you become more inquisitive. You become more aware of the world. You become more aware of yourself, your mind, your independence, because now you're coming into young adulthood, right? These
Hmm.
these questions are normal, but also remember, don't go down the rabbit hole, and not leaving breadcrumbs so you could find your way back, because it's very easy to get lost in the going down that maze trying to find meaning. You will find meaning when you're ready to receive the meaning. That's how you have to look at it, okay? And
Mhm. Really, not just from an individual perspective, right? So like when you so like I was reading about cosmology, astrophysics, physics in general, chemistry, science in general, I mean, evolution, all of this. And I was like, okay, like aside from spirituality, of course, I do believe in God. Alhamdulillah, I am proud of being a theist. But the point is, point of the matter, if we, for example, like focus purely on a scientific perspective or philosophical perspective,
Yeah.
the answer to these questions, like collectively doesn't exist. And so that's exactly what makes these questions beautiful. Like it made me read a lot these type of questions. I read this. No, there's this book individually about this topic. Meaning of life,
Mm.
philosophy, and a lot of other books that I read that were particularly not about this, but included this topic because this topic is pretty famous in philosophy. I read this book, *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a really pretty amazing book. Even it talked about that. Uh, and the next book that I'm gonna read is particularly about this one, The Man's Search for Meaning.
Mm.
That's what its name is. And these type of books, like there. Even if you cannot find the answer to this question, I think you can learn or get a lot of wisdom while like reading about these things. You know what I mean? Uh, like like I was wondering, okay, like what did Aristotle? I don't know if you heard of him, right? Aristotle.
Of course, philosopher.
Yeah, like what did he think of these questions and all of this, and then I learned a lot from it. Like about these philosophy, science, and all that. And I'm more reading about this. I'm currently reading this book, Life 3.0, which is about being a human in the age of artificial intelligence. So, it talks about AI from a technical point of view as well as from a philosophical and societal point of view too. You
Mm.
know, sci-fi basically. I read a lot of sci-fi and philosophy and these type of things. And these type of things is what sometimes makes me think that like we humans we objectively like from a from a biological evolutionary perspective, from a scientific perspective, from a philosophical perspective, we are worthless. We don't have any special worth if we talk from these type of perspective. uh like you know uh like I was, like I mentioned this book, *Sapiens*.
Mm-hmm.
It talked about imagined orders, money, cultures, religion, all these of imagination that we all have to believe in these common things, right? Uh, like our early ancestors, they were in Africa, like hunting animals and as for doing everything for survival. And we are here, talking about them and like on Discord, on internet. How different is it? But like the the mind is still the same. You know that uh like since 70,000 years, 100,000 years, our brain hasn't evolved yet so much.
Well,
Like even
yeah,
you and I and
not structurally, not fundamentally, but we've evolved somewhat. Through culture, language, and societal norms, and we develop laws, we develop infrastructure. So we've somewhat evolved, but in terms of understanding the scope of life, which is again, it's an unanswerable question. We can never actually answer this question. What is the meaning of life?
hmm,
There is no
hmm,
answer to this question, which is why, of course, seek out knowledge. I'm never going to tell anybody not to seek out knowledge. Seek out knowledge. Soak up as much information as you can comprehend or as you can digest. But also remember, dwell in the present. Um, dwell in the tangible as well. Don't lose track of the tangible because the tangible is what's going to balance things out. Of course, you can get lost in Carl Jung. You can get lost in and I don't know what's his name. He's actually a an Indian writer. I think is Rabindranath Tagore. I know I'm butchering the name, but these were, I guess, sages or people, savants. He never went to university. He never studies, but he wrote beautiful prose, beautiful poems um, in English, where he never actually studied. And you have these people who transcend what we understand as life as we experience it. So you sort of have to be put yourself in a situation where you can ask these questions, but be ready to understand without actually getting the answers. I don't know if that makes sense.
Mm. Like I was reading this guy, uh, uh Roman Emperor
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Aurelius.
Yep.
Uh, have you heard of him?
Yes, of course.
Mm. I'm reading currently, like reading a book from this guy. This wasn't published as a book. It were his personal notes to himself. Like he was telling himself that don't be evil, be rational, be, follow his philosophy, be a student of philosophy, and stop, stop prioritizing wealth, stop prioritizing fame. He even said that fame is useless, wealth is useless. He literally says these type of words, and he keeps reminding of himself, don't be corrupt, don't be evil by these type of things, don't be influenced by these type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I actually, highlight the main quotes by him. That I have the book in my hand right now,
Mm.
and I can read out some to you, which I'm pretty sure you're going to like and you are going to appreciate him. Read this quote.
Which book is this?
Line number 18. Quote, how much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only to what he does himself, that it may be just and pure. Or, as Egerton says, look not round at the depraved morals of others, but run straight along the line without deviating from it.
Mm-hmm.
And this book is pretty text dense. So, what did you understand something, or were you lost?
No, you got cut off for a second. I didn't hear the last part. Which book is this again?
Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Now listen to this. Now, it's pretty important, by the way. It's pretty amazing. Now, a man should take away not only unnecessary acts, but also unnecessary thoughts, for thus superfluous acts will not follow after.
Mm. I lost you again.
Yeah, I was actually waiting for your call. Uh,
Okay.
Now hear this. Uh, Hear this one more. Let it make no difference to you whether you are cold or warm, if you're doing your duty, and whether you are drowsy or satisfied with sleep, and whether ill spoken of or praised, and whether dying or doing something else. for it is one of the acts of life, this act by which we die. It is sufficient then in this act also to do well what we have in hand.
Mm.
That's it.
What page is this?
This is book number 6,
Mm.
point number 2.
Okay, book number six.
This amazing quote.
I don't have book
Uh,
number six.
can I, what? Like you can search, meditations book 6. Like it doesn't have chapters. It has books. It
I
mentions
know.
books,
It's
not
it's
chapters.
actually because the fourth book, the third book, the second book, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So you see the sixth.
No, it's not separate books. Uh, it's one. I don't know why it mentions book. Like so, like when I'm trying to see these pages, different pages after like every 4 to 5 pages, it says book 6, then book 7, then book 8. I don't know why, right? What I know is that it were his personal notes. It doesn't say like in usual books there are chapters, right? The chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. It says book 1, book 2, book 3, and I don't know why, but like I'm just telling you from this book's perspective that is chapter 6. Uh,
Okay, read the passage to me again.
yeah, there are a lot of them. Here's the deal. Look at this.
The last one, you
I
just you read.
uh, okay. Let it make no difference to you whether you are cold or warm. If you're doing your duty, and whether you are drowsy or satisfied with sleep, and whether ill spoken of or praised, and whether dying or doing something else. For it is one of the acts of life, this act by which we die. It is sufficient then in this act also to do well what we have in hand.
Mm-hmm.
This book is pretty text dense, you know. Is
Yeah,
there?
I think I have a different book here.
Hmm.
Okay.
Also this one.
Yeah,
I'm composed
the
of the four.
Meditations of Marcus Aurelius Antonius, right?
Yeah, that one. He was a Roman emperor, so you can just, reference him by that.
Dude, I know who
Like,
Marcus Aurelius is.
yeah, bro, like when I was going to this book, I
Mm.
cannot believe that this was written by a Roman emperor. Like, Roman emperor means the most richest and most powerful man on earth, right? Like, Roman Empire, it was the biggest
Well,
empire on the planet, and it's
but also remember, right? Back in the Roman Empire, when they say written by the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, a lot of these guys didn't sit there with pen and inkwell and write these things. They had a scribe. They had what they call a scribe, right? This was a person who was skilled in actually papyrus, a feather, like pen with an inkwell,
yeah,
and they write. So I mean, he might have basically uh, dictated these poems, and they were most probably embellished by his scribe. And it's in the same way that when Trump wrote the book The Art of the Deal, this guy didn't write a single sentence in the book. Everything was recorded, and his writer, when it transcribed everything, typed everything on a typewriter. They didn't even do it on a
no,
computer back then.
no,
So Marcus
no, this
Aurelius,
book.
he wasn't this profound. Of course, now he's revered as this great philosopher, this great guy who basically has most probably a lot of this was embellished by his scribe, and you can dig into the research. I'm not
No,
taking anything away from him. You know what I mean? I'm not taking anything away from him. Yes, it's great. He has great prose, great poems, and great profound things about life. But mostly, remember, this is why I told you go down the rabbit hole, but be careful because you keep an eye out for the light, where you don't get too far too deep into the philosophy of these guys. You
Wild.
understand?
Okay. I mean, first thing that, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, could you, okay, whatever. Uh, like this were his personal notes that he wrote for himself, not for publication, but for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like in these passages, he's talking to himself. Like when there's this passage. I'm composed of the formal and the material, and neither of them will perish into non-existence, as neither of them came into existence out of non-existence. So,
Mm-hmm.
like these were notes for himself. They were never meant for publication. These were published after his death.
Right.
Wow, look at this! Look at this! Hear this, I mean. But now, the more of these things a man deprives himself of, or of other things like them, or even when he is deprived of any of them, the
Mm-hmm.
more patiently he endures the loss, just in the same degree he is a better man.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the passage is. Did you listen to it, or do you want me to restate it?
Yeah, no, I got it. I got it. Yeah, I mean, these are all. Well, this is what we call food for thought, right? It's these are meant to provoke emotions and thought, and again to seek, I guess, to seek meaning in the mundane, and to sort of get into a place where you get into a place where you're not simply existing. You're seeking understanding, most of all, purpose and meaning. And of course, this is what sets us apart from mere beasts or animals, right? This is what makes us unique. Although we're all carbon based, right? We all bleed. We're all born. We grow up and we die. You know, but the ability for us to think, to ask these questions, this is what makes us, I guess, sort of special. But even then, even within the confine of, you know, philosophy, um, we we get into a situation where we understand that we are mere mortals, right? And we understand that. And here's the funny thing, right? Because the more you know, this is the irony of knowledge, right? The more you know, the more you realize that you don't know as much as you think you know. So all you can do,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? All you can do is seek out knowledge and just keep going, keep searching, keep moving forward, and and it'll make you a little bit more grounded. But also remember, there's a caveat, right? You have to realize that as much as it can ground you, it can also take you to the other extreme. Which is why it's a balance. It's a balancing act. So you have to be careful not to let it overtake your existence, but also not to ignore it. Because listen, I've been there. I mean, I've taken philosophy. I've had philosophy. I took philosophy in college. I mean, it's mandatory. Uh, Philosophy was mandatory, so I had to sit through these classes. With the Carl Jungs. We didn't study Marcus Aurelius, but because the academics. So all these are there to also to ground you, but also to remind you not to get lost and looking for a specific answer, because I can guarantee you you're not gonna find the answer, because the answer simply doesn't exist. It's the more you know.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
tread carefully.
yeah, yeah, I understand that. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's, I mean, it's interesting because I see where you're going when it comes to your path. You're asking all the right questions. You are um, you're on a path to, discovery, and you're at that age that you are aware of what it entails to be a human being, to be, you know to be a young man, and you coming into your own. So it's naturally you're going to ask yourself these questions.
Mm.
It's
Like
no,
it's a pleasure. I mean, you know that you're never going to find out. Like reading about this stuff is in itself is a pleasure.
mm,
You enjoy reading about these things.
yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean?
I mean,
You
reading reading such literature, uh, uh, not for entertainment. Of course,
you're
this is
uh,
not,
cutting.
it goes deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
Mm-hmm.
just make sure that, again, I can't stress that enough. Just make sure that you understand that uh, the more you dig, the more questions are going to arise, and you have to sort of come to terms with that. That's all I'm saying. You got to come to terms with that and say, you know what? Yes, and it's important to have these conversations, right? So I don't know if you have any friends, your age, that ask these type of questions, or is this pretty much normal to you? Do you have any friends that are asking the same questions that you're asking right now?
I don't have any friends IRL to be honest with you.
Ah, and why not?
I don't have much contact with my friends, but like they were into so sorry the deal when I was a kid, like a extreme kid, like 10 or like two bad things. Very very curious. So like a couple of like like till fourth grade to ninth grade,
Hmm.
10th grade, these things disappeared. Science and like I just got into this materialism and all that. Uh, like philosophy and science disappeared from me basically.
Right.
It shouldn't have. It wasn't like fundamentally it wasn't. Like there was this something within me, I guess.
Hmm.
Like but I think that it was I was more focused on like what I mean, right? So like for friends and all that, But uh, okay, so okay, and let's discuss this tomorrow. I have to go for now.
Okay, it's late. Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
go ahead.
it is late. So I guess
Get some rest. Are you working tomorrow? Are you going to
mm,
your internship tomorrow?
internship is remote, and
Oh, okay. That's all right. But
yeah,
you
so
you
I'm
still
gonna
have
sleep, and then
you still have
tomorrow
to
you're going
work though.
to
Yeah.
probably sleep.
All
No,
right. all right, Amar. So, yeah,
Yeah, so
thanks for dropping in. And again, just keep searching, keep your head up. I will I will speak to you.
mm,
All right, take care.
bye.
Bye bye. Well, all right, guys. So that was a always interesting conversation with Amar. He's a young man trying to find his way in the world. He's he's growing up, and I'm proud of him. He's something he said earlier, and I'm actually proud of him that he came to the realization that there's certain things he shouldn't have said when he said them, and it takes a certain level of growth to realize that yeah, this is yeah, that's great. All right, gents. The Discord channel is wide open. So come on and talk to your guy. Drop by and say hi. We're here. We're in the house.